Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. January 9th. Welcome to my channel. It is Friday. It is Friday. Today we have non-farm payrolls and unemployment, and we're just kind of consolidating, accumulating in the last couple of days, really. So this should give a little jolt to this market. Yesterday, let's get into yesterday. Yesterday was pretty much a barcode. It's pretty much a barcode. All right. We'll get into my trade. I had a nice long yesterday. I think that long came at like the first 15 minutes of the market. Hit my target with very quickly, and I was done. Now there was a short around 12:45 that I could have got into, but I was like, okay, for the day. Kind of made up for the day prior, right? I didn't fully follow my system, and we'll get into it. I might make a trade recap video on its own about the trade I took yesterday because it was pretty solid trade. Lot of confluence, so I can show you a little bit why I took it. Okay. What else is going on? We have also today tentative Supreme Court is going to rule on Trump's tariffs. That ruling will impact markets. I don't know how much because look, when he mentioned the tariffs, the market dropped, right? But now the market priced that in. So, I don't know. Okay, I really don't know what's going to happen with that because even with the tariffs, we made all-time highs, right? So if they rule them illegal or something, I don't know. What are we going to do? Go higher? So it's very weird what would happen with the market. If it benefits some stocks, so maybe it does go up, right? Because obviously when there's tariffs, producers in America pay that tax. So we'll have to see what transpires with that. Okay. What else is on? There was some news this morning with Oklo, which is a nuclear company partnering with Meta. So that stock shot up. It's up almost 18.34% right now as we speak. Also, Vistra partnered with Meta as well. They are up 17%. So they're getting love. Okay. What's going on there? What else can I talk about? I think that's about it, folks. I think we're going to get right into it. Oh, that's not the one. That's not the thing I want to show you. I am not getting good sleep, folks, every night. It is just every night I get up. So, brain's a little foggy. So, welcome to my channel. Name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Also use anchor view ups, market internals. That is my bread. That is my bread and butter. I can't stress that enough. We're going to show you that divergence again yesterday. It was amazing. Okay. Now, if you've been following me for a while, I have caught the ICT smart money concept bug for a framework, and I'm in love with it. I'm in love with it. All right. So, using fair value gaps, certain other concepts, nothing is like shocking to me that, like, oh, but to have a framework, it gives you a sense of confidence and a sense of repeatability. There's always going to be discretion, but I want to I always tell some of my community members, I like things that make me not trade, right? I like to be filtered out to say, oh, that's there. I don't do that unless it does this. It calms me down. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still have some FOMO. My FOMO levels are a lot lower than they used to be, and that's just time. But I love a framework that says, It's not really the good place to long here, so you just don't, right? So you will see my last couple of trades have been using ICT concepts, and I'll get into that trade that I did yesterday. Pretty cool trade. Okay. Now, now. Hopefully, you join me every morning. Okay. Do this every morning. Subscribe, set an alert. Give you the market story, market news, economic counter, leaders and laggards, just why the market's doing what it's doing. Okay. Followed by technical analysis, and then I give you the long and short trades in the Nasdaq and the ES futures. Okay. So hopefully you join me every morning. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Every day I give the raw deal of what's going on with internals. That, to me, is the price of gold. Right? It's years and years of watching the internals, the ticks, all that in my head to combine it to be one story. Right? What I love about my internals, okay, and I have a video. I'll share it with you. It's in my Discord, but I'll show you where that is, of how I use internals. But basically, price action can fool you, and I don't like being fooled. So I weigh heavily on internals because I'm like, well, I know we just dropped a little bit, but we're not weak. And after time after time after time that I've watched that, now I have a confidence, right? So we'll get into that in a little bit. All right. Now I think we're ready to look at these futures watch lists here. All right. And we're getting ready for non-farm payrolls. Unemployment at 8:30. That will be pivotal. So these will probably change a decent amount once that drops. Okay, once that drops. Silver is back up. My lord, silver's back up. All right. Up 3.5, 3.5%, let's say, okay? Now, crude's up 0.73. The VIX is up 0.65. Gold is up 0.34. Russell's up 0.34. Nasdaq's up 0.17. ES up 0.13. The Dow is up 0.12. The dollar is up 0.10. 30-year bonds is pretty much flat. 10-year yield is down slightly. We're waiting on these unemployment data. Bitcoin's down 0.31. Did make, I think, a run to 94. Now it's dropped back down to 90. There is a high volume node at 87. I don't know if it will come back to that. Ethereum down 0.43. Moving on to the Max 7 Plus here. All right, Broadcom up 1.13. Alphabet or Google up 0.56. GE up 0.45. Nvidia's up 0.36. Any laggards here? Amazon. Amazon's having quite the run this week. I own Amazon as well. And it's shattered its expected move to the upside, so it could keep running, folks. Microsoft. Microsoft hit its expected move right almost to the tick the other day. On Wednesday, I believe, and it really is pulled back from there. Okay? So that's that. All right. Moving on to top sector stocks here. Chevron getting love. Chevron's getting low, up 1.29%. Home Depot's getting low, up 0.96, almost up a percent. Costco finally catching a bid. All right, and catching a bid there. Now, who's down? Mining. Miners are down, 0.63. Qualcomm is down, 1.74. I don't know why they're down. Off the top of my head, maybe we'll get into it. All right, granular list here. There's Oklo. Nuclear made a deal with Meta. So did Vistra. So they're monsters this morning. Now Tilray, that is that cannabis weed stock. They're up. Oscar Health's getting love again, up 5.38. NRG is up 4.86. ASML, Asemi, up 3.73. This is Southwest Airlines, up 3.68, and Iris Energy up 3.15. Okay, who's lagging? Let's see. Alibaba's down 2.38. General Motors down 2%. That's about it. Okay. Moving on to sectors. Utilities. Utilities All right, that would be who's the big utility? Usually it's NEE Duke Energy. I believe Vistra's included in that. I could be wrong about that. Um, because GE is industrials, so utilities is a leader. Semis up 0.90. So semis getting love before NFP. Energy's up 0.30. Technology's up 0.22. No laggards. No laggards to speak of this morning. 8:30 we will watch that news drop together. All right, we'll watch that news drop together. Let's move on to the economic calendar and look at what we can expect today. Man, I am dragging from sleep. Woo. Every night I get up in the middle of the night. It's horrible. All right, let's look at today. 8:30, non-farm payrolls. We're expecting 60,000 jobs added. Before it was 64. Unemployment, we're expecting 4.5. Interesting. We're expecting unemployment to go down. Previous 4.6. Interesting how that's going to pan out. Okay, interesting how that's going to pan out. What else here? We have Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. That moves markets as well. Then you get Fred Kashkari speaking at 10 a.m. And you have tentative the Supreme Court ruling of tariffs. So we have an action-packed day, folks. Let's go to financial juice here. Do we have anything to talk about? Yes, 10 a.m. Supreme Court opinion on tariffs, tentative. Okay. Let's see if there's some news here. DeepSeek to release next flagship AI model, V4 with strong coding ability. Okay. That's about it there. I think we're going to cover there. Let's look if there's a stock roundup here. Let's see. I don't really see one here. All right, not going to get into it. Let's move on to this other news here. Supreme Court set to issue rulings on Trump awaits fate of tariffs. We know that. All right, Disney CEO meets top Chinese official as House of Mouse navigates U.S.-China tensions. Defense firm seeks legal advice over Trump clampdown on payouts. And looks like Asia had European shares hit an all-time high. Chinese in the Nikkei, Shanghai, all were higher. Let's see if there's any other news here. See, here's the Meta Platforms Inc. and Oklo Inc. and Vistra Corp. Meta Platforms said it struck 20-year agreements to buy power from 3 Vistra nuclear plants in the U.S. heartland and develop projects with 2 companies hoping to build small modular reactors. Meta will also help develop small modular reactors planned by Oklo and TerraPower. That is a big move for Oklo. They're not even a profitable company. Okay. Now look at Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. The company reported a 20.45 increase in fourth quarter revenue from a year earlier. That's going to boost semiconductors. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that's all we're going to talk about there. That's all we're going to talk about there. Let's look at some upgrades. We have American Airlines. Maybe that's why Southwest is getting some love. American Airlines upgraded. Let's see. Cleveland Cliffs Steel upgraded. Edward Life Sciences upgraded. MO Altria Group upgraded. Okay. Let's look at some downgrades. There's been a healthy list of these recently. Adobe downgraded. American Tower downgraded. Mattel downgraded. Plug Power downgraded. Alrighty. I think we're done there. We're going to go right into internals. Internals, boy, they have been spot on telling you the real deal in the markets, boy. Man, can I not? If I was a salesman, I would sell the hell out of this indicator. It is worth its weight in gold. I'm telling you, boy. All right, so look at this yesterday. This, you can't get more divergent. I guess you can. Okay, so right off the bat, what stands out was technology sector was down 1% yesterday, even more than that yesterday. Okay, that alone represents 35% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500. 35%. Okay, if tech was strong yesterday, this market would have ripped higher. Ripped higher. Because why? Financials was up. Discretionary was up past 2% at one point. Communications was a little up. Healthcare was a little laggard, but the rest of the market was strong. Look at stable up 2.35 yesterday. Now, these don't move markets, but it just shows you the overall market was strong. How do I know that? Okay. Well, this white line represents basically the equal weighted S&P 500. You can find a ticker called RSP. It's just this is basically the same thing. Look at this white line. How strong it was. Never got weak. Okay? That means that if all stocks were equal, they weren't market cap weighted, this is what the market was doing yesterday. But our market moves by these bars, and they were held down by tech and healthcare. So that made our market be more barcodey. You're not going to move much up when tech's down like that. It just, you can't do it. Okay, so this was kept me in check. Okay, now these Valdez are very important, right? The NYSE exchange had 2.2 to 1 volume going into up stocks versus down stocks, and look at the NYSE. I'm sorry, the Nasdaq exchange was a 1 to 1. Was a 1 to 1, and look at that Nasdaq 100 ADD. It was a -2. A -2 means basically 50 stocks were above their close on the previous day, 50 stocks were below. Below. Right cut in the middle. Okay, right cut in the middle. All right. So this is my go-to, my bread and butter. This is where I make my decisions a lot. I'm bearish, bullish. What do I want to ride? What do I want to do? All right. Now, real quick, we got 3 minutes. We're going to look at daily charts together. Depending on how crazy this move is, I don't know if I'll have a great analysis depending on the move, right? What did we do yesterday? Well, this is part of my long as well. Once we dropped, we hit the 9 EMA daily and this trend line in SPY. And I was like, usually when you first test these, they get bought. Like you can see it here, bought. Anytime you go by it. Now this day you did close through it, but generally, see here, bought. So it makes me cautious because I think algos kick in and buy this. Okay, so what do we do? Kind of a little bit of a doji. All right, we kind of closed right above last week's highs. Where are we now? 691. We are 691. Pretty much gapping up before NFP. Very interesting. Okay, let's look at futures. You're just getting some really nice buying excess here. Right, markets doesn't seem to be going down. 9 EMA daily pushed right off it. Haven't made all-time highs yet. All right, so waiting news here. Let's look at those Qs. We tried to break out of that wedge and failed. Right, then we closed here. So this is just a mess. QQQ is a mess. It really is. Where are we now? 622. Right here on the upper third of it. This is a mess. Okay, let's look at futures. I talked about futures where you're right by the most traded price of the rolling year. It's a mess. Look at this. You're just in the middle of garbage here. Not a good chart. Okay? Not a good chart. Just horrible. Okay? You're in the middle of the muck here. And QQQ's been relatively weak. Let's just real quick look at the XLK sector. Look at that garbage. Remember, this is 35% of the market cap in the S&P 500. Look at this garbage. You go up, you go down, you go down, you go down, you go down, you go up, you go up, you fail, you go down. Ugh. You got a flat 50-day moving average. This doesn't know what it wants. It doesn't know what it wants. News is going to drop now. Let's go to hourly chart. Once it gets released, we had a big spike up. Let's go to these hourlies. right, let's check out the news. Right now we're getting a wick up. Getting a wick up. Unemployment went down 0.2, 0.1 from the last time. Expected 0.5, 4.5. We got 4.4. Here's the latest and greatest. What did the non-farm payrolls do? We expected 60 and we underdelivered 50. So unemployment went down. Interesting. Now, for people who want more cuts, that's not going to help as much, because if unemployment went down, the Fed's probably not going to look to cut. Okay? So I'm not sure how the market's going to take this. It's initially went up, but a nice wick here. Okay? We hit last week's highs, sold off. Okay? Now, very interesting of what we do here. Like I said, this is very interesting of what the market's going to do with this. Unemployment down would make cuts in question, and we missed the non-farm payroll. So I don't really know. Right now, I think it's a nothing burger, but we'll have to see what price does later on. Okay. Now, as far as getting back to, let's just look at the charts here. I want to see what's transpired here. So the dollar went up. Let's see here. Silver's up still. I don't really see that much change here. I'm not really seeing anything moving that I was like, whoa, this really changed the scope of stuff. Not really. Okay, not really. Now, the one thing I wanted to show you guys is that breadth from yesterday, because that equal weight really had a nice day. Okay, so let's look at the, just to show you that this is RSP. Notice that big day. Had a down day, then a nice big day yesterday. That's that white line on the indicator. Okay, RSP. Okay, but let's look at the breadth. Smell that breadth. That breadth had a nice bullish engulfing day. We went up to 70% of the stocks moving above their 50-day moving average. When we get up into the 80s, right, that is frothy. So if this market starts to creep up into here, that's when you start to say, okay, typically when you get up into these frothy numbers, the market's going to correct. It's not sustainable. Just like on the bottom, when you're down to like almost 1% of stocks above their 50-day moving average, it usually signifies a turn. All right. So that was a nice breath change yesterday. Breath smelling better. Okay. Now, as we go along here, these hourly charts, right? We're getting a nice wick. A very nice wick here. We came into this supply. We hit last week's highs. This is a bearish for value gap. We still haven't been able to get rid of this. Okay. We just hit up 2 swing highs. Now, this could signify a trend change again. Okay, because look, we actually broke this swing low, made a new downtrend, but then look, we broke this swing high, and it looks like we're trending up. So this is a mess a little bit, this market. Okay. So if we're going to get into some levels here, we might as well just go right into hourlies. Okay. And just look at this market together. Okay, this makes sense right here. When you have a move like that, right, that's not the best structure. It's not. So now the market just cleaned up that poor structure. Now you got this swing high up here, right? And now we have a nice little uptrend starting here. All right, so if you see, we'll just do a little trend change here. Came up, swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low. All right, and what do we do here? We're just really going up, right? Oh, Jesus. Anyway, we're starting a new downtrend. I mean, uptrend. This candle, if this displaces through this fair value gap into here, we're going to go into this and possibly touch that swing high. Right now, the market's telling us they like this. Okay, we're back over ultimate balance. That's around 69.60, the most traded price of the month, the most traded price of the week, and the most traded price yesterday. Okay, so this is the accumulation that we were doing in here. Okay, right there. Now, this might have been the manipulation lower, or this. This is the basis of my trade yesterday. We swept these lows, right? And in ICT, you couldn't displace lower. That was part of the reason I got long yesterday. So this looks like the manipulation to then distribute higher. Okay. So just based on this, if we close up here, I'm going to have a long bias for the day. Okay. And this will make a bullish fair value gap here. So I'm going to wait to see what we do. I will add another level here. This is a swing low. Here, hold on a sec. Sorry. This does become a swing low, almost an equal low here. Okay, we did break this, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now I want to see if we can displace over this swing high. We do have the next swing high is all the way up here at 7,006. We're going to go above last week's highs. This is last month's highs. Okay, we're also going to have a little bit of a demand zone in here as well. If this candle closes at 9 o'clock, this will have displaced up higher, and this looks like a distribution leg. Okay, so what I will preliminarily do is throw demand here. Okay, that's the demand zone. All right, this probably will make a bullish fair value gap. Okay, so we'll have to see. This isn't supply, and you have another fair value gap, bearish fair value gap up here. Okay, so any kind of discount to pull back here would be nice, right? Because this becomes a swing low. As long as you don't take this swing low out and say you come back into this demand, that is a nice buying opportunity. Okay? So remember, we're above ultimate balance now. Moves from ultimate balance are very large. This is ultimate balance, the most traded price of the month and the week. We just distribute it. We're just starting to distribute it. Now, this could fall apart. I don't know. All right? So the way you're going to look at this is you want to see something like this. Let's say we put a new swing high in, and then you just want to make sure we make a higher low from this low into that area, and then you can keep moving up. Okay, that's what I'm looking at on the ES. So the market is liking it right now. Let's move over to the NASDAQ, which has been relatively weaker. Okay, this has not had a trend change yet. Okay, let's look at that next time. I'm not going to delete this now. Let's look at the recent trend. Okay, so we got here to a swing low, to a swing high, to a swing low, to a swing high. Let's keep going here, right? And then we did make this is an ugly trend, but this is what it's been doing. And then now we're just made this, right? So if we take this away, it's always, to me, it's always nice to look at it like this, right? It makes it much cleaner. So that's our trend in your NASDAQ. So look, boom, swing high, right? And then a swing low. You still make a lower high, right? And now, actually, right here, I'm going to say it. You did do a market structure shift here. Okay? You did take out a swing high. I think you'd like to take this one out too, but you did take out this swing high. Okay, so it just had a market structure shift, right? You're uptrending. So now, what do you want to see? You want to see this swing low held, right? So as long as we pull back, even down to here, and then you can make another move and then a distribute higher. So I am corrected. That's why I like doing this. We have a market structure shift breaking that swing high. Okay, so that's now making me long bias. Okay, let's get into the chart. Okay, a lot of bearish for value gaps above here in the in the chart here. We do have ultimate balance, spans from 257 to 256, 550s. We are now above that. That is bullish. That is bullish. Okay, so structure bullish, trend bullish. All right. Now, again, this is a nice swing high that you want to take out, but we took out this swing high. All right. So you do have the market structure shift. All right. So liquidities here at this swing high. You have an equal high here and another swing high, and then you have all the way up here around the 260s. Okay. So, and we have a demand now that we can put on here, just like I did in the, I'm not sure which one I'm going to grab here. Let's copy this. So we're going to put a demand zone here now. Okay, so we just took out this swing high, right? And this swing high. So now it's up to here. And then you do have, I think it's a 4-hour bearish for value gap right here. You can notice by the thicker bars. All right, so I expect, I don't know what's going to happen here at all. So I'm going to keep this on to see if this can displace higher and close above it, right? And then I'll get rid of it. Now we have a new swing low here, right here, almost equal lows. So like I said before, what do we need to see now? So we know we're doing this, right? This, and now all you want to see is a higher low above this swing low, okay? And then you can really start to cook. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen today, but that's what I'm going to be looking for back into this demand zone, right? We're probably going to mitigate this now. Okay, this bearish for buy gap is pretty much going to be gone. Okay, that's got to close up here. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. This big orange box held the market yesterday. This is your most traded price of the rolling year. That's why I said that's how much volume is in this area for the last year. It's ridiculous. That's why I said the NASDAQ is nasty. But if you get out of this, and you break these swing highs, this market can start to run. Okay, because tech's been kind of getting rotated out of, but I don't know if it gets rotated back into, our markets are going to fly. Okay. Alrighty. Now moving on, we're going to go into market profile, volume profile. We'll give scenarios. I just gave some scenarios there in the hourly chart for those who like candlesticks. We're gapping up now in the ES. So market's liking it. Now we switch over to market profile, line profile, where I do my scenarios. Okay, so this is right here. Okay. And in the I have a composite volume profile to the right here. We have like a double distribution here, right? One here and one here. Okay. Okay. So we're gapping up. Okay. So right off the bat, you want to put that gap fill 69.7250 right here. That lines up with demand. Wow, that's an ugly line. That's ugly. So let's do that again. We want gap fill. Perfectly lines up with this demand zone. Okay. That's a good one to look at. And 50% retracement of the overnight lines up with that gap fill as well. So that's a pretty nice level. Okay. Below us, we have ultimate balance, 69.60s. All right. The market, you just need this. You basically need to stay above that level. And that's pretty much bullish. All right. Now you did whip into a bearish fair value gap right there. You can see it's causing selling already. This is also a liquid level here. That is last week's highs. We have some single prints here. So let's see what happens here. Okay, pullback's viable in my opinion. Okay. Down here, you still have that 35, 32 area with the bullish fair value gap and below that demand. Right now, I don't think we test that unless something else comes out. Okay. Above us, we have the prior day's highs. All-time highs is not too far away. Okay. You do have a little bit of a high volume node right here, so we're just going to mark off. And there's just a supply zone here. So I'm just going to mark off this level here. Okay, so let's get into scenarios now. We'll break out the session. Oops. Hold on. Okay. So now you can see these are just 30-minute bars. You can see it's held ultimate balance all night. And we accumulate it, and now we're distributing. Unemployment right now, the market's telling us it likes it. So that's why I don't try to dig into the news too much and go, wait a minute, let me dig into the numbers. Wait a minute, that's false. Man, that's BS. These numbers are cooked, blah, blah, blah. But who cares? Doesn't matter. Market will tell you what it feels about it. Okay? So, let's get into it. All right, let's get into scenarios. Remember, I always say, do not try to outsmart this market. You will fail. Okay? You will fail. I've done it. I've tried it. It doesn't work. There are times where you call it and you're like, yes, I called this. But, I mean, at the end, nobody calls anything. Nobody knows. I mean, you can have probability in your favor, right? All right, so let's look at this together. All right, we are gapping up, folks. All right, so on gaps, you just want to judge them in a couple ways. Gap and go is very bullish. If we do pull back to the gap fill, that's still bullish. Okay, if we fail to pull back to the gap fill, that is bullish. If we pull back into range, then that might question the strength of the gap. That's how you judge it. That's how you judge it. Okay, now also that 69.71, that is the midpoint. That is the 50% retracement of the overnight correct right now. That lines up with your yesterday's highs. So I think this in the demand zone, this is very likely to be a very viable pullback. We just went into supply. We just went into last week's highs. Also a bearish fair value gap. So to me, this is nice. Okay. So what I would like in a perfect situation would be a gap fill. Pull back into the gap fill, into demand, okay, into the 50% retracement of this overnight move, okay, and you can get a buy here, higher lows, you take out the overnight highs, and then break through this little high volume node here to 69.88s. If you can do one of these and hold it, you're going to hit most likely the other day's highs. That's 7,006, and we'll go to all-time highs. Okay. This accumulation trend change will be a distribution higher. Okay. Now, I honestly think we could get a bear trap here. Also, let's say we pull back through this demand, but then we hit ultimate balance. The market just needs to hold ultimate balance. That's 69.60s. Okay, you could do quickly this, recover, and that's the sellers get the liquid for the buyers to go higher. That's all I'm interested in today. I'm not interested in longs really up in here. Now that depends. It's a scalp intraday, that's a different thing. But right now, I am not very interested to just buy up here. Okay? Doesn't really make sense to do that. How much move am I going to get? I don't know, but it doesn't make sense. Okay? So, on a bearish situation. Okay? Now, remember, I just talked about what I would like for the bull case. Now, if you want to take a little bearish side on here, if we push up, let's say, and we try to take out this bearish value gap and fail, hit the naked VPOC, that's just an untested most traded price of the day, and let's say we put a low in and then a lower high. You have thin volume here, okay? This could be a nice scalp into this demand, okay? If this market gets a little weaker and runs through to ultimate balance, that's also where you could take profit. If the market rips through ultimate balance, that is bearish. And if we find acceptance of price underneath ultimate balance, we're going to go and hit the support level of the 69.35s. Okay? This would be very bearish. Okay? We could definitely bounce here. If we get follow through and everybody starts getting nervous, we can fall. Remember, this number of unemployment going down does not secure a good cut coming up. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just saying that, but price is going to still, I'm going to do what price tells me. I'm not going to get too locked into that, but I'm saying if we did fall, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Remember, we still have tariffs and Michigan consumer sentiment coming today as well. So I don't know what could be a catalyst, what this market could do. I really don't. But this is viable. Okay? This is viable. So I have a bullish bias today. Okay? So I'm looking for longs right off the bat. This short, I'm not really interested in, to be honest with you. It's a poor, like I'm giving you a scenario that could happen, right? However, I want to be long. I think that's the easier trade. Okay? Now, if we take this out and hold here, well, then that changes. But we have to see. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. Now, let's go over to the NASDAQ. It's been relatively weaker. Okay, we're not even gapping up in the NASDAQ. We're not gapping up in the NASDAQ. Okay, so right off the bat, levels jumping off the screen to me is the 25806s. So you basically have equal highs here. I like to call them confluence highs as well. That is the overnight highs and the real-time trading hour highs are equal in supply. So this level becomes very important. Very important. Remember, ultimate balance is here. As long as the NASDAQ stays above that, that is bullish in structure. That is bullish in structure. All right, we do have a little bit of a significant support level around from the 25569s all the way down to the 25534s. So around this box. And also that is the most traded price of the rolling year, that orange box in all of this volume. So just picture the most traded price of the rolling year, the most traded price of the week, the most traded price of the month. There's a lot of volume in NASDAQ, and now it's making a move above it. Okay? All of this agreements on price, the farther you go away from it, the bigger the move becomes. The bigger the move becomes, okay? Now, we do have two demand zones here. We are in supply right now. Okay? We're inside a bearish fair value gap right now. Okay? So I am not going to just long here. Doesn't make sense. Okay? I want a discount. Okay? So let's get into scenarios now. I'm going to start with the bull side. Okay? Oh, let's break out this session. Let's break out the session. Okay. So right off the bat, we're not gapping up, but we're at yesterday's highs. Okay? Yesterday's highs. What do I want to see? This is the swing low. Remember I said, if this holds as a swing low, stay with that trend. So I know we're in a bearish fair value gap and supply. So whatever happens here, I want to look for a move back into demand, right? And I don't want this swing low taken out. So if it comes into here, boom, bounce maybe, give me a higher low, and I think we could start to cook, take out the overnights, that swing high, okay, and I think we can try to take out this overnight high to 25850s. Now, we do have a bearish fair value gap up here, okay. I think you can go straight and try to knock on the door of last week's highs, 25893. 25893. Okay. Now, underneath this, you have another demand, ultimate balance. Okay. So, a bear trap would be a quick move into this area. Okay. Flush some shorts out of here, like this. Whoop. And then you go long. Okay. For the NASDAQ traders out there. All right. That's what I'm really looking at. Those are optimal trades. Okay. Shorts. Like I said, I am biased long today, but I'm going to always give you both sides. All right. Now, what if we go like this? Rip up, gap and go. Don't mitigate this 4-hour bearish fair value gap. Come back. Well, remember, this is part of my long scenario. So you can scalp this into this demand, right? Into ultimate balance. That could be a nice scalp. Okay. Now, maybe we bounce from here, but let's say the market continues to get weaker and you start to come through this ultimate bounce, which will not be easy. But if it does it with ease, that is market generated information that is very bearish. And if we hold here, hold, okay, we have a chance to go back and break this low, yesterday's lows. Okay, that orange box is the most traded price of the rolling year. It's a big level. Remember, it's the most traded price of the rolling year. That is a lot of volume. A lot. Okay. If you take that out, like I said, this is going to cause major weakness. Major weakness. Okay. So, to review, right, I'm going to show you that was the scenarios. Okay. Now, let me show you the volume here. Is it here? No. Not there. It's not going to show it. Here's the NASDAQ. Okay. Let's change this. Well, we can just zoom it in. I just want to show you from a year ago. Let's see here. Well, it doesn't matter because it's just volume. All right, so this is the great thing about ticks and great thing about having this data, right? So that's why I go from this chart. That is the most traded price of the rolling year. So 365 days ago from today, that is the most volume traded. Very significant. But if you look at the volume profile of the NASDAQ, it shows you, I'm going to show you, you're going to see it too. I'm going to draw a line out from the volume. It expands from really here, and look at the candlesticks, to really like the bulk of it all the way to here. And if you follow my drawing, this is a lot of volume all up in here. Honestly, below this low volume node here, around 248s, that's where really it can get really nasty. Really nasty. Okay? That's how much volume been transpiring in this big range. Okay? From about 260s to 248s is a high concentrated area volume. Okay? We tested that most traded price of the rolling year yesterday in the NASDAQ right there to the tick. Okay? So that's the difference. Now, ES, okay, this is the most trading volume of this year. That's not much as important as much, right? You don't have the most traded price of the rolling year down to all the way here around 68.28. Okay? ES looks like it wants higher prices. Okay, NASDAQ is not close to that yet. So I'm just wanted to show you that, share that with you, okay? That's all of my analysis. Okay? Now, as far as you wanted to see my trade, I'm going to pull up my Discord. Okay, posted the trade here. There it is. All right, so I'm going to quickly go over this because I don't want to take everybody's time up. All right, we're past 9 o'clock. All right, so this was our market on a 1-minute chart yesterday, the ES. All right, and what I saw yesterday, okay, now in Smart Money Concepts, or ICT, they have a thing called SMT, which calls for a smart money technique. All that means is generally NASDAQ and ES are correlated, right? They move together. They generally are correlated, right? Yesterday, they were not. Yesterday, NASDAQ was putting in lower lows and the ES was putting in higher highs. They call that an SMT. I just see it as that ES was relatively weak. But when you're at lows like that, it's generally bullish. Now, ES was the stronger index, okay, the stronger instrument. I just happen to trade ES most of the time. Okay, so you can see in here in the market, right? We did a lot of business up here. We pulled back, made a low. Chopped around, but we created a 1-minute fair value gap here. Right? And there's a lot to this confluence. I went over this with one of my good friends in my community. I had a lot of confluence on this. It would probably make your head spin how much confluence I had to take the trigger on this one. Okay. Now, I had the smart money technique. I had the 1-minute fair value gap, right? So price pulled into it, and look at the wicks. Remember, a fair value gap's not mitigated until you close through it. You had some buyers show up right here. And I said to myself, okay, what other confluence do I have? Right? I had, they call it optimal trade entry. So this Fibonacci from the low to the high a day, right here, gives you this like little golden zone of discount. This is an optimal trade entry for ICT. Okay? You always want to buy at a discount. And this was coming in at that zone perfectly, right, in those 3 levels of retracement. Okay? That on itself is awesome. Then you had the 1-minute fair value gap that formed, right? Plus the SMT, right? You had correlated markets, uncorrelated, but ES was making higher lows. Okay? Now, on top of this, going to show you one more confluence, okay? Right here. Oh, I don't have it on my chart. I don't have it on my chart. This yesterday was the gamma flip point for the week on the SPX as well when we were bottoming. I don't have it to show you right now, okay? So, back to this, okay? So when I saw that, and what else did I see? Nvidia, Microsoft, and Apple bottoming. So I was like, okay. And we were in negative gamma. I can't show you that in QQQ, which means it's very volatile, which means once the buying kicks in, it's going to be very violent. All right, so that gave me enough confidence with all the stuff. And we also swept lows and the ES. We did a liquidity raid, so that was also in there. Now, simple as that. All I wanted to see is what we did when we came back into this 1 minute fair value gap in the optimal trading zone. I got long here. Okay, my stop was here, and I was targeting high day. And it literally happened. I entered here. Look at that. That's 1 minute, 2 minute. In the third minute, my target was hit, and I was done for the day. So we did. Now this was a bearish fair value gap, which I was like, okay, perfect, high day going into here. I don't know how much more we get. Now look, if I stayed in it, right, we did pull back a little bit, right? Even after it hit my target, it pulled back, right? But then we got another leg up. But that's okay. Okay, so that's the reason I got into my trade. Okay, I thought it was a pretty good trade. All right, happened. You see how quick that happened. And there's the trade. You can see it right here. Look at that time. I got in at 3 minutes and 54 seconds. Got out at 5 minutes and 43 seconds. A 1 minute and 49. 1 minute. If I thought it was actually longer than that, it was actually only a minute and 49 seconds. A minute and 49 seconds. There's my entry. There's my exit. There's my P&L. So whatever, 462.50. Okay, that's more than 2 to 1 than my usual risk. Okay, so pretty nice. I can't complain. All right, so there's my little trade recap for you. If you have questions, let me know. All right, now if you enjoyed this content, please smash the like button. That means a lot to me. Give me a thumbs up. Now, every morning I do this streaming on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, set an alert. Okay, I'll give you the market news, the market story, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, and a bunch of technical analysis, followed by the long and the short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and ES futures. I just gave you my trade recap as well, and it was a nice comeback. It was a nice comeback for me because the prior day I followed my system not to the fullest, my process to the fullest, and I paid for it. All right. And that one trade got me back almost, like it almost erased the prior day fully. All right. So remember, this is on a combine and eval for Top Step. I'm only about a little more than $500 away from being funded. So that means probably 1 or 2 trades away from being funded. It's my first time trying to do this. I mean, I did have 2 other evals. This is my third. At first it kind of felt gamified to me when I first tried it, but now I'm taking it more serious and I trade it as if it's my own. So now I have to really concentrate on just getting to the 3,000, and so we'll see. I don't know. Anything can happen, but that's my journey right there. I'm trying to get it funded. I have a free reset, so I'm not sure. I probably will try to get that funded as well. Maybe have 2 accounts to copy. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just sharing that journey with you. All right, now remember, if you want more in-depth coverage, stuff like I just broke down, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on my link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, I provide a lot of intraday commentary. Okay, I look at a lot of stuff, and I can understand it being overwhelming to some people who just start out. Okay, I understand that. The main thing you want to listen to me for is my market internals. Okay, let me just show you that one sec. If you join my Discord, if you go to education, market internals, I have a video here pinned here. Explains how I use them. Okay? It explains how I use them. All right? Everybody have a great day. All right, have a great weekend. If I don't see you in my Discord, I will see you on Monday. All right? Everybody, stay green. No trades to trade. Hope to see you in my Discord. If not, Monday morning. Take it easy.